During dinner, my stepkids told me to know my place, so I left and never came back. The mashed potatoes were getting cold. I remember that detail so clearly, which is funny because out of everything that happened that night, the temperature of the potatoes should be the last thing on my mind. But there they were, this perfect pile of homemade mashed potatoes that I'd spent an hour peeling and boiling and mashing, starting to develop that little skin on top that happens when food sits too long. Across the table, my wife Jessica was staring at her plate like it held the answers to the universe. Her knuckles were white where she gripped her fork. And her two kids, my stepkids, ages 16 and 18, were looking at me with expressions I'd seen before but never fully understood until that moment. "It's just dinner," I said, trying to smile. "We don't have to solve world hunger tonight. Let's just eat." But Ethan, the 18-year-old, wasn't done. He'd been building up to something all through the appetizer, through the main course, through the awkward silences that had become our new normal. And now, with everyone's attention finally on him, he let it out. "Why are you even here?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Jessica made a small sound, something between a gasp and a whimper. His sister Maya, 16, just stared at me with this cold, flat look that made her seem twice her age. "I'm sorry," I said. Not because I didn't hear him, but because I needed time. Time to process, time to figure out how to respond to something I'd been dreading for years. "You heard me," Ethan said. His voice wasn't angry. That's what got me. It was calm. Matter of fact. Like he was commenting on the weather. "Why are you still here? My real dad is trying to come back. He wants to be in our lives. And you're just, in the way." Jessica found her voice. "Ethan, that's enough." "No, Mom, it's not enough. Somebody needs to say it. He's not our dad. He never was. He needs to know his place in this house. His place." Those two words hit me harder than anything else he could have said. Because they made it clear, after 5 years of marriage, after helping with homework and attending school plays and paying for braces and sitting through countless family dinners exactly like this one, I was still just a guest in their home. Someone who needed to be reminded of where he belonged. By the end of this video, you're going to hear the full story of how I went from being a stepdad who tried everything to being the villain of my own family. You're going to hear about the years of small rejections that built up like bricks in a wall, the ex-husband who showed up just often enough to cause damage but never often enough to take responsibility, and the moment I finally realized that love isn't always enough to make you family. Let me take you back to the beginning. My name is David, I'm 42 years old, and I've been a stepfather for 5 years. Before that, I was just a guy in his mid-30s who'd given up on finding the right person. I'd done the dating app thing, the set up by friends thing, the maybe I'll just adopt 15 cats and call it a life thing. Nothing had stuck. Then I met Jessica. She was a friend of a friend at a backyard barbecue. I noticed her right away, not just because she was beautiful, which she was, but because of the way she interacted with people. She listened. Really listened, like whatever you were saying was the most important thing in the world. We talked for 3 hours that night, and by the end, I knew I wanted to see her again. What I didn't know until our third date was that she had 2 kids. Ethan was 11 at the time, Maya was 9. And their dad, Jessica's ex-husband, was what you might call intermittently present. He'd show up for a few months, play the hero dad, then disappear again when the reality of parenting set in. He paid child support sometimes. He remembered birthdays occasionally. But reliable? No. Consistent? Definitely not. I remember the exact moment Jessica told me about them. We were at a little Italian restaurant, sharing tiramisu, and she got this look on her face like she was about to confess a crime. "I need to tell you something," she said. "And if it changes things, I understand." When she said she had kids, my first feeling wasn't fear or hesitation. It was relief. Because here was this amazing woman, and now I understood why she was still single. Not because anything was wrong with her, but because she came as a package deal. And some guys, maybe most guys, aren't ready for that. But I was. Or at least, I thought I was. I'd love to meet them, I said. When you're ready. She cried a little. Happy tears, she said. Because no one had ever said that before. Meeting Ethan and Maya for the first time was terrifying. I'd read all the articles about blending families. I knew the statistics, something like 40% of marriages with stepchildren end in divorce, compared to about 30% of first marriages. I knew that kids often resent stepparents, that they see them as intruders, that bonding takes time and patience and a whole lot of grace. But knowing something intellectually and living it are two different things. Our first meeting was at a park. Low pressure, lots of space, easy escape routes if things got weird. Jessica had prepared them. Mom's friend David is going to hang out with us today, which I appreciated. No new dad expectations. No pressure to perform. Ethan was 11, already tall for his age, with this guarded way of looking at people that made him seem older. Maya was 9, all big eyes and curious smiles. She warmed up to me quickly, asking questions about where I lived and what I did for work and whether I liked dogs. Ethan hung back. Watched. Judged. I brought a frisbee. Smartest move I ever made. Within 20 minutes, Ethan and I were throwing it back and forth, not saying much, but establishing something. A rhythm. A small connection. After that first meeting, Jessica asked what I thought. They seem great, I said. And I meant it. I knew Ethan would take time. I knew there would be challenges. But I was willing to put in the work. What I didn't know was that Ethan's guardedness wasn't just normal kid caution. It was a wall. A fortress. And no amount of frisbee throwing was going to bring it down. The first couple of years were complicated. I moved in with Jessica about a year after we started dating. We'd talked about it extensively, how it would affect the kids, what my role would be, how we'd handle discipline and boundaries and all the tricky parts of blending a family. We decided I'd be more of a fun uncle figure at first. Supportive, present, but not trying to replace their dad. Their dad was still in the picture, sort of. He'd call every few weeks, show up for a weekend every couple of months, send presents on birthdays. Not exactly father of the year material, but present enough that the kids still had hope. Still believed that one day he'd get his act together and be the dad they wanted. That hope made everything harder for me. Because I wasn't competing with a real person. I was competing with an idea. A fantasy. The version of their dad that existed in their heads, the one who would come back and make everything perfect and rescue them from the boring reality of homework and chores and rules. Against that fantasy, I never stood a chance. I tried, though. God, I tried. I went to every school event. Every parent-teacher conference. Every soccer game, every dance recital, every band concert. I helped with homework, even the subjects I didn't understand. I learned to make their favorite meals. I sat through movies I hated because they wanted to watch them. I gave advice when asked, stayed silent when not, and tried to be the steady presence their dad couldn't be. And slowly, Maya started to come around. She'd hug me goodnight. She'd call me when she had a problem. She'd even, on rare occasions, call me Dad by accident, then blush and correct herself. Those moments were everything to me. They made the hard days worth it. But Ethan? Ethan never let me in. Ethan was polite. I'll give him that. He said please and thank you. He did his chores. He got good grades. On the surface, everything was fine. But underneath, there was this distance. This wall I could never quite breach. He'd talk to me if he needed something, but never just to talk. He'd accept help with homework, but never ask for it. He'd sit at the same dinner table, eat the same food, participate in the same conversations, but it always felt like he was holding something back. Like he was waiting for something. Or someone. I tried everything. I took him to ball games. I bought him video games I thought we could play together. I asked about his interests, his friends, his plans for the future. He'd answer, short, polite answers, and then retreat back into his room, back into his phone, back into whatever world existed behind those guarded eyes. Jessica noticed, of course. We talked about it constantly. He's just protective of himself, she'd say. His dad's let him down so many times. He doesn't want to get attached to someone who might leave. I'm not going to leave, I'd say. I've told him that 100 times. I know. And he'll believe it eventually. Just give him time. So I gave him time. I gave him 4 years of time. 4 years of showing up, of being consistent, of proving through actions that I wasn't going anywhere. And still, that wall stood. About 3 years into our marriage, something shifted. Their dad, whose name is Kevin, started showing up more. Not a lot more, but enough to notice. He'd call every week instead of every month. He'd come for weekends more regularly. He even showed up to a few school events, which he'd never done before. At first, I thought this might be good for the kids. They'd been hurt by his absence so many times, maybe consistency would help them heal. Maybe they'd finally get the father they deserved. But Kevin's version of showing up was different from mine. He didn't come for the hard stuff. He didn't help with homework or sit through parent-teacher conferences or enforce bedtimes. He came for the fun stuff. The weekends. The birthdays. The moments that required no effort and produced maximum reward. He was the Disneyland dad, and I was the guy making sure they did their homework and ate their vegetables and went to bed on time. And slowly, insidiously, I started to see the effects. Ethan, especially, began to pull away even more. He'd come back from weekends with Kevin full of stories about how great his dad was, how much fun they'd had, how Kevin had promised to take him on a trip or buy him a car or help him get into college. Jessica tried to manage expectations. Your dad means well, but you know how he is with promises. Ethan would shrug it off. This time's different. He said so. It never was different. The trips never happened. The car never materialized. The college help never came. But each time Kevin let him down, Ethan didn't get angry at Kevin. He got angry at me. For being there. For being steady. For being the reminder of what his real dad couldn't be. The 6 months leading up to that dinner were rough. Really rough. Ethan was 18 now, graduated from high school, working part-time and figuring out what came next. Maya was 16, deep in the drama of high school, navigating friendships and boys and all the usual teenage chaos. Kevin had been more present than usual. He'd gotten his life together, supposedly. New job, new apartment, new girlfriend who seemed to actually want him around. He was talking about being more involved, about making up for lost time, about maybe even having the kids stay with him part-time. Ethan was all in. He talked about moving in with Kevin, about working with him at his new job, about building the relationship they'd never had. Maya was more cautious, she'd been burned before, but even she seemed hopeful. And me? I was the elephant in the room. The obstacle. The guy who'd been there for years but still wasn't real family. I started noticing small things. Ethan would ignore me when I spoke to him. He'd leave the room when I came in. He'd make comments under his breath that I pretended not to hear. Not our dad. Doesn't belong here. Wish he'd just leave. I told myself they were teenage mood swings. I told myself he was just working through stuff. I told myself that eventually, he'd see the truth, that I was the one who'd actually been there, actually showed up, actually done the work. I was wrong. That Sunday dinner started normal enough. Jessica had made her famous meatloaf. I'd made the mashed potatoes, my grandmother's recipe, the one with extra butter and cream cheese that made everyone fight over seconds. Maya was on her phone, as usual. Ethan was staring at the wall, as usual. Kevin's name hadn't come up yet, which felt like progress. Then Ethan put down his fork and said, "Dad's coming to town next weekend." Jessica's smile tightened. "That's nice, honey. He wants to take us to dinner. Just the three of us." "That sounds fine. And he wants to talk about me maybe moving in with him. Just for a while. To see how it goes." The room got very quiet. I kept eating, kept my eyes on my plate, tried to pretend I wasn't hearing this. Jessica's voice was careful. "We should talk about that. There's a lot to consider." "What's to consider?" Ethan's voice had an edge now. "He's my dad. I want to live with him. It's not complicated. It's complicated because you have a life here. A school, a job, a room. People who love you. He loves me too. I know he does. But we need to think practically. Where would you work? How would you get around? What about college plans? You're just trying to stop me. I'm trying to be realistic." That's when Ethan turned to me. Turned and looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. Not anger. Not hatred. Just dismissal. Like I was furniture. "Why are you even here?" Jessica said his name sharply. Maya looked up from her phone, eyes wide. "You heard me," Ethan continued. "Why are you still here? My real dad is trying to come back. He wants to be in our lives. And you're just in the way." I set down my fork. "Ethan, I understand you're upset." "No, you don't understand. You never understand. You're not my dad. You never were. You need to know your place in this house. Your place." Those words hit me like a physical blow. Because in that moment, I realized that everything I'd done for 5 years, every school event, every homework session, every sick day, every Christmas morning, meant nothing. I was still an outsider. Still someone who needed to be reminded of where he belonged. Maya spoke up, her voice small. "Ethan, that's not fair. Stay out of it, Maya." "No, it's not fair. He's been here for us. Dad hasn't. And support is worth something," I added quietly. "Being here every day is worth something." Ethan scoffed. "Being here doesn't make you family. Blood makes you family. He's our dad. You're just, you." I looked at Jessica. She was crying, silent tears running down her face, but she wasn't saying anything. Wasn't defending me. Wasn't telling Ethan he was wrong. Just sitting there, crying, letting her son tear me apart. And that's when I knew. I didn't say anything else at dinner. I finished my meal, mechanically, like a robot, helped clear the plates, and went to the bedroom. I sat on the edge of the bed for a long time, just staring at the wall, replaying those words in my head. Your place. Not our home. His house. My place. Jessica came in about an hour later. She sat beside me, reached for my hand. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "He didn't mean it. He's just confused, with Kevin coming back around. He's lashing out." "Did he mean it?" I asked. "Of course not. He's a teenager. Teenagers say horrible things they don't mean." "But did he mean it, Jessica? Really? Because I've been here for 5 years. 5 years of trying. 5 years of being the steady one while Kevin floated in and out. And in all that time, has Ethan ever once treated me like family?" She was quiet. "Has he ever called me dad? Ever hugged me without me initiating? Ever once said thank you for anything I've done? More silence. I'm not asking for a parade. I'm asking for basic respect. And tonight, he told me I don't belong here. And you sat there and let him. What was I supposed to do? Yell at him? Make it worse? Defend me? Just once. Stand up for me and say, this man is your stepfather and he deserves better than this. She started crying again. I know. I should have. I'm sorry. I stood up. Walked to the closet. Pulled out a bag. What are you doing? I'm leaving. David, please. Don't do this. We can talk about it. We can go to family counseling. We can fix this. Can we? Because I've been trying to fix this for 5 years. I've been patient. I've been understanding. I've made excuses for every slight, every cold shoulder, every reminder that I'm not really part of this family. And tonight, your son told me to know my place. And you know what? He's right. I don't belong here. I never did. I packed a bag. Not everything, just enough for a few days. Jessica followed me around the room, begging, crying, promising things would change. I didn't respond. I couldn't. If I opened my mouth, I was going to say things I couldn't take back. As I walked out the door, Maya was standing in the hallway. She was crying too. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry he said those things. I don't think you should go. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to tell her it wasn't her fault. But I couldn't. I was too close to breaking. Take care of your mom, I said. And I left. I stayed at a hotel that night. Then a friend's guest room for a few days. Then another hotel. I couldn't go back to that house. I couldn't face those walls, those memories, that reminder of everything I'd tried to build and failed. Jessica called constantly. Texted constantly. Left voicemails that ranged from angry to sad to desperate. I read some of them. Most of them, I deleted without reading. Ethan texted once. When are you coming back? Mom's a mess. I didn't respond. Maya texted a few times. Small things. Hope you're okay. Mom made your favorite dinner but you weren't here. I miss you. Those hurt the most. Because Maya was the one who'd let me in. Maya was the one who'd given me a chance. And leaving meant leaving her too. But I couldn't stay for one kid while the other made it clear I wasn't wanted. That's not fair to anyone. Not to me, not to Maya, not even to Ethan. Living in a house where you're not fully accepted is a slow poison. It eats away at you until there's nothing left. During that first week away, I did what I always do when I don't know what to think. I researched. I read articles about stepfamilies, about stepparenting, about the challenges of blending families. I needed to know if I was alone in this. If other people had gone through the same thing and come out the other side. Here's what I found. According to the Pew Research Center, about 16% of children in the U.S. live in blended families. That's millions of kids, millions of stepparents, millions of people trying to make it work. But the numbers on stepfamily success are sobering. Studies suggest that stepfamilies take an average of 5 to 7 years to fully integrate. 5 to 7 years of adjustment, of boundary setting, of figuring out roles and relationships. And even then, many stepfamilies report ongoing challenges. One study found that about 30% of remarriages involving stepchildren end in divorce within 10 years. But that number might be low, because many stepfamily struggles never make it to the statisticians. The most heartbreaking statistic I found came from a survey of adult stepchildren. When asked about their relationships with stepparents, only about 30% described them as close or very close. The rest described them as distant, complicated, or non-existent. And the biggest predictor of a positive step-parent-stepchild relationship? The age of the child when the step-parent entered the picture. Younger kids adapt more easily. Teenagers. Teenagers often struggle to accept a new parental figure, especially if their biological parent is still in the picture. Ethan was 11 when I came into his life. Right on the cusp. Old enough to remember life before me, young enough that we might have built something. But his dad's intermittent presence, those false starts and broken promises, kept Ethan's hope alive. Kept him waiting for the real thing, the biological connection, the fantasy dad who would finally show up and make everything right. Against that fantasy, I never had a chance. I reached out to a family therapist during this time. Not for formal sessions, I couldn't afford that, but for a consultation. Just to talk through what had happened and get some perspective. She told me something that stuck with me. Stepfamilies are like jigsaw puzzles where half the pieces are missing, she said. You're trying to create a picture, but you don't have all the parts. And the parts you do have don't always fit the way you expect. She explained that stepchildren often experience something called loyalty binds. They feel torn between their biological parent and their stepparent. Even if the biological parent is absent or unreliable, the child may still feel that accepting the stepparent means betraying their real parent. So they push the stepparent away. They keep their distance. They protect that biological connection, even when it hurts them. Ethan was textbook loyalty bind. His dad was unreliable, inconsistent, disappointing, but he was still dad. And if Ethan accepted me, if he let me be a real father figure, what did that say about his hopes for Kevin? What did that say about his own identity? So he kept me at arm's length. He rejected me before I could reject him. He made sure I knew I wasn't family, because if he ever let himself believe I was, and then I left, like Kevin left, like everyone left, it would destroy him. I understood that intellectually. But understanding doesn't make it hurt less. The therapist also talked about the role of the biological parent in stepfamily success. She said that the single most important factor in whether a stepparent is accepted is how the biological parent handles the relationship. If the parent consistently reinforces that the stepparent is part of the family, that they deserve respect, that they have authority, the kids eventually come around. But if the parent is passive, if they let the kids set the terms, if they don't defend the stepparent when conflicts arise, the stepparent never really integrates. And that's where Jessica failed. Not out of malice, but out of fear. She was so afraid of losing her kids, so afraid of pushing them away, that she never fully backed me up. She let Ethan's disrespect slide. She made excuses for his coldness. She hoped that time would fix things, without realizing that time only fixes things when you're actively working on them. Around day 10, Jessica showed up at my friend's house where I was staying. She'd found out where I was from a mutual friend, and she wasn't leaving until I talked to her. We sat on the front porch. She looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, hair a mess, clothes that didn't match. She'd been suffering. I could see that. Please come home, she said. I don't have a home anymore. Yes you do. Our home. Our family. Is it our family, Jessica? Because Ethan made it pretty clear that it's his house and I need to know my place. He was wrong. I know he was wrong. I've talked to him. He's sorry. Is he? Or is he just sorry you're upset? She hesitated. Just for a second. But I saw it. He's a kid, she said. He's confused. His dad is promising him the world, and he's getting swept up in it. But he loves you. Deep down, he loves you. Does he? Because I've never felt it. Not once in 5 years. I've felt tolerated. I've felt like furniture. But I've never felt loved. That's not fair. He's just. Don't make excuses for him. He's 18 years old. Old enough to know right from wrong. Old enough to understand that words hurt. Old enough to take responsibility for how he treats people. Jessica started crying. So that's it. 5 years of marriage, and you're just walking away. I'm not walking away from you. I'm walking away from a situation where I'm not wanted. There's a difference. But I want you. Maya wants you. Doesn't that count for something? It counts for everything. But I can't live in a house where half the people wish I wasn't there. It's not healthy for me, and it's not healthy for Ethan. He deserves to have his feelings acknowledged. And I deserve to be somewhere I'm fully accepted. What about counseling? Family therapy? We'll go every week if we have to. We should have done that years ago. Maybe it would have helped. But now? I don't know. She reached for my hand. I let her take it. I love you, she said. I know I haven't always shown it the right way. I know I should have defended you more. I was scared. Scared of losing them, scared of pushing them away, scared of making things worse. But I see now that by not defending you, I was losing you. And that's worse. That's so much worse. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to go back to that house and pretend those words hadn't been said and start over. But I couldn't. Because some things can't be unsaid. Some moments can't be erased. I need more time, I told her. I'm not ready to make a decision. She nodded, cried some more, and left. 2 days later, Maya showed up. By herself. She'd taken the bus across town, found my friend's house, and knocked on the door like she was selling cookies. Can we talk? She asked. We went for a walk. She was quiet for a while, kicking at rocks, not looking at me. Ethan's being a jerk, she finally said. I know you're upset about what happened. It's not just that. It's everything. He's been awful to you for years and Mom just let it happen. And now you're gone and everything's worse. I'm sorry, Maya. I didn't want to leave you. Then why did you? How do you explain to a 16-year-old that you're leaving because you can't stay? How do you make her understand that staying would slowly destroy you, even though leaving hurts her? Because I can't make someone want me in their life. I can only control what I do. And I've spent 5 years trying to be part of your family, trying to be there for you and Ethan and your mom. But if Ethan doesn't want me there, if he sees me as an intruder, then me being there just creates more conflict. And that's not good for anyone. But I want you there. Her voice broke on those words. And I broke a little too. I want to be there for you. I do. But I can't be there for you if being there means being in a war zone every day. Does that make sense? She nodded, wiping her eyes. He's always been like this. Ever since Dad left the first time. He doesn't trust anyone. He thinks everyone's going to leave, so he pushes them away before they can. I know. I understand why he is the way he is. But understanding doesn't make it hurt less. Can you at least come back sometimes? For dinner or something? So I can still see you. I hugged her then. First time in weeks. I'll figure something out. I promise. By week 3, I'd found my own apartment. Small place, cheap furniture, but mine. No memories, no ghosts, no constant reminders of what I'd lost. I'd also started talking to a lawyer. Not to file for divorce, I wasn't there yet, but to understand my options. What would happen if I left for good? What would happen to the house, the finances, the life we'd built together? The lawyer told me something I hadn't considered. In many states, stepparents don't have automatic rights to stepchildren, even after years of being in their lives. If Jessica and I divorced, I'd have no legal standing to see Maya. No visitation, no custody, no nothing. I could walk away tomorrow and never see her again, and the law would have nothing to say about it. That hit me hard. Because Maya was the one bright spot in all of this. The one who'd let me in. The one who'd called me dad by accident and blushed and made my whole week. The thought of losing her forever was almost worse than losing Jessica. But I couldn't stay married just to stay in Maya's life. That's not fair to anyone, not to Jessica, not to me, and especially not to Maya, who'd eventually figure out she was the reason her parents stayed together and carry that weight forever. I had to make a decision based on what was right for me. And what was right for me was starting over. About a month after I left, Kevin called me. I don't know how he got my number, probably from Ethan, but suddenly there he was, the ghost who'd haunted my marriage, on the other end of the phone. "I heard you left," he said. No hello, no introduction, just that. Word travels fast. "Look, I know we've never really talked. And I know I haven't been the best dad. But I wanted to say, I'm sorry. For my part in all this." I almost laughed. "Your part? You mean the part where you showed up just enough to keep the kids hoping, but never enough to actually be there? That part?" He was quiet for a second. "Yeah. That part. I know I messed up. I know I let them down. I'm trying to be better now." "Good for you. But you're about 6 years too late for me. I'm not trying to make excuses. I wanted you to know that I know I played a role. And I'm sorry you got caught in the middle." It was probably the most honest thing Kevin had ever said to anyone. And for a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Here was a guy who'd spent years being the fantasy dad, the one who existed in promises and weekend visits, while I did the actual work. And now that he was finally trying to be real, the damage was already done. "I appreciate that," I said. "But it doesn't change anything. I know. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm just clearing my conscience, I guess." "Consider it cleared." We hung up. And I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no closure. Just the dull awareness that this man had been a wrecking ball in my life, and now he was trying to make peace, and it didn't matter. None of it mattered anymore. Since this video might help someone else going through something similar, I want to share some of the research I found. Because stepfamilies are complicated, and knowing what the experts say can help you navigate the challenges. The numbers. About 40% of married couples with children from prior relationships divorce, compared to about 30% of first marriages. Stepfamilies take an average of 5 to 7 years to integrate successfully. Children in stepfamilies report higher levels of stress and anxiety than children in nuclear families, at least in the early years. The quality of the relationship between the stepparent and stepchild is the single biggest predictor of stepfamily success. Stepchildren who are older than 10 when the stepparent enters the picture have a harder time adjusting than younger children. Boys and girls adjust differently to stepfamilies, with boys often having more difficulty with new father figures. What helps? The biological parent actively supporting the stepparent's role. Clear boundaries and expectations for all family members. Patience, lots of it. Family therapy or counseling. Not trying to force relationships that aren't ready to happen. Acknowledging that the biological parent still exists and matters. What hurts? The biological parent being passive or absent in conflicts. The non-residential parent undermining the stepparent. Unrealistic expectations about how quickly bonding will happen. Trying to replace the biological parent instead of being a figure. Ignoring the children's feelings about the situation. Looking back, Jessica and I made a lot of mistakes. We didn't set clear boundaries with Kevin. We didn't get the kids into counseling early. We didn't have enough conversations about what my role should be. And when conflicts came up, we let them slide instead of addressing them head-on. But the biggest mistake? Thinking that love alone would be enough. That if I just showed up enough, tried hard enough, gave enough, eventually Ethan would come around. But love isn't enough when there's unprocessed hurt. Love isn't enough when there's loyalty binds and broken promises and a biological parent who keeps showing up just enough to keep hope alive. Love is necessary, but it's not sufficient. You need structure, boundaries, and a whole lot of professional help. 2 months after that dinner, I made my decision. I filed for divorce. It wasn't easy. It wasn't what I wanted. But it was what I needed. I sat Jessica down at a coffee shop, neutral ground, no memories, and told her. I can't come back, I said. I've tried to imagine it, to picture myself walking through that door and picking up where we left off. But every time I do, I see Ethan's face. I hear his words. I feel that coldness that's been there for 5 years. And I know I can't live with that. She didn't cry this time. She just nodded, like she'd been expecting it. I understand, she said quietly. I've had a lot of time to think. About what I did wrong, about what we did wrong. I should have fought for you harder. I should have made it clear to Ethan from day one that you were part of this family and he needed to respect that. I was so afraid of losing him that I lost you instead. You didn't lose me. You made choices. We both did. And this is where those choices led. What about Maya? She's going to be devastated. I know. And I'm going to stay in her life as much as I can. I don't have legal rights, but I'm hoping you'll let me see her sometimes. Be there for her when she needs me. Jessica nodded. She loves you. She's going to want that. We talked for a long time after that. About the logistics of divorce, about dividing assets, about how to tell the kids. It was the most honest conversation we'd had in years, and it came 5 years too late. Telling Ethan and Maya was harder than I expected. We did it together, Jessica and I, sitting in the living room where it all started. Ethan sat in the corner, arms crossed, face unreadable. Maya sat on the couch, already crying before we said a word. I'm moving out permanently, I said. Your mom and I are getting a divorce. Maya burst into sobs. Ethan didn't move. I want you both to know that this isn't your fault, I continued. Adults make decisions based on adult stuff, and sometimes those decisions are hard. But none of this is because of anything you did. Is this because of me? Maya asked through tears. Because of what Ethan said. No. Absolutely not. This is between me and your mom. It's been building for a long time. That dinner just brought things to a head. Ethan spoke for the first time. So you're leaving because of me. I'm leaving because I can't be somewhere I'm not wanted. You were wanted. Mom wanted you. Maya wanted you. But you didn't. And that's okay. You have every right to feel how you feel. But I also have the right to not stay where I'm not fully accepted. For the first time, I saw something flicker in Ethan's eyes. Not regret exactly. More like confusion. Like he'd expected me to fight, to beg, to prove my love by staying despite everything. And I wasn't doing that. You're just giving up, he said. No. I'm accepting reality. There's a difference. I stood up to leave. Maya grabbed my arm. Don't go. Please. I knelt down in front of her. I'm not disappearing. I'll still be here for you. I'll still come to your games, your concerts, whatever you need. Your mom and I are going to figure out a way for me to stay in your life. Okay. She nodded, but she was still crying. Still holding my arm like if she let go, I'd vanish forever. I hugged her. Long and hard. And then I left. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. It was as painless as these things can be, no fighting over money, no drawn-out custody battle since I had no custody rights. We split the assets, signed the papers, and became two people who used to be married. I stayed in touch with Maya. Jessica made it easy, she wanted me in Maya's life, and I'm grateful for that. We'd meet for coffee, go to movies, talk on the phone. She told me about school, about friends, about the normal stuff of being 16 and 17. She never mentioned Ethan unless I asked. And when I asked, the answers were always the same. He was living with Kevin now. It wasn't going great. Kevin wasn't as reliable as he'd promised. Ethan was working, not going to college, drifting. I felt bad for him. Not enough to reach out, he'd made his feelings clear, but bad in the way you feel bad for anyone who makes choices that hurt themselves. He'd gotten what he wanted. His dad. His place. And it wasn't making him happy. It's been about 2 years since that dinner. I'm in a different place now, literally and figuratively. I have a new apartment, a new job, a new rhythm to my life. I've dated a little, nothing serious. I'm not sure I'm ready for serious again. Maya is 18 now, graduated from high school, figuring out her next steps. We still talk regularly. She calls me her stepdad, even though legally that's not true anymore. She told me once that I was more of a father to her than Kevin ever was, and I cried for an hour after that phone call. Ethan is. Ethan. He and Kevin had a big falling out about a year ago. Kevin relapsed or got fired or both, the details are fuzzy. Ethan moved back in with Jessica for a few months, then got his own place. He works at a warehouse, doesn't talk to Kevin anymore, doesn't talk to me either. Jessica says he's doing okay, all things considered. I hope that's true. Jessica and I are civil. We don't talk much, but when we do, it's friendly. She's been in therapy, working on her own stuff. She sent me a message a few months ago, just to say she was sorry again. For everything. I appreciated it. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this story, it's this: stepfamilies are hard. Like, really hard. Harder than anyone tells you. Harder than you can prepare for. You can do everything right. You can be patient and kind and consistent. You can show up every day and prove yourself over and over. And still, the kids might not accept you. Still, the biological parent might not back you up. Still, it might fall apart. That's not your fault. It's not the kids' fault either. It's just the reality of blending lives that were already formed, already shaped by hurt and disappointment and complicated family dynamics. Here's what I wish someone had told me before I became a stepdad. You can't force it. You can't make someone love you or accept you or see you as family. All you can do is show up and be consistent and hope that eventually, they come around. And if they don't, you have to accept that too. The biological parent has to be your partner. Not just in marriage, but in parenting. They have to back you up, defend you, make it clear that you're part of the family. If they don't, you'll never fully belong. Get help early. Family therapy isn't just for crisis moments. It's for building healthy dynamics from the start. We should have gone years before we did. Maybe it would have helped. Maybe not. But we'll never know. Know your limits. You can give and give and give, but eventually you run out. And when you do, you have to make choices that protect your own well-being. That's not selfish. That's survival. Love isn't always enough. I wanted it to be. I believed it would be. But love without structure, without support, without mutual respect, that's just wishing. And wishing doesn't build families. The hardest truth I've had to accept is that I wasn't the hero of this story. I wasn't the villain either. I was just a guy who tried his best in a situation that was stacked against him from the start. Ethan wasn't the villain. He was a kid who'd been hurt by his dad, over and over, and couldn't trust anyone new. His anger at me wasn't really about me. It was about Kevin. About all the disappointment and abandonment and broken promises. I was just the safest target. Jessica wasn't the villain. She was a mom trying to protect her kids, trying to keep the peace, trying to navigate an impossible situation without a map. She made mistakes, big ones, but she made them out of love, not malice. Kevin wasn't even the villain. He was a guy who couldn't get his act together, who kept letting his kids down, who probably had his own demons and traumas and reasons for being the way he was. That doesn't excuse it, but it explains it. Sometimes there are no villains. Just people making choices, hurting each other, trying to survive. And sometimes the only way to survive is to walk away. If you're a step-parent watching this, or thinking about becoming one, here's what I'd tell you. Lower your expectations. Not for how much you'll give everything. But for how quickly you'll be accepted. For how much appreciation you'll get. For how smoothly things will go. Expect it to be hard, and you won't be disappointed. Build a relationship with each kid individually. Don't try to be the parent right away. Just be a person. Find common ground. Show interest in their lives. Let them set the pace. Never compete with the biological parent. You can't win that fight. Even if the biological parent is absent, even if they're awful, they still have a place in the kids' hearts that you can't touch. Don't try. Just be who you are. Have hard conversations early. Talk to your spouse about boundaries, about discipline, about what happens when conflicts arise. Get on the same page before things get complicated. Get support. Join stepfamily groups. Read books. Talk to therapists. You're not the first person to go through this, and you won't be the last. Learn from people who've been there. Protect yourself. Give everything you can, but know your limits. Know when to step back. Know when to walk away. Because if you pour everything into a situation that's never going to give back, you'll end up empty. And empty people can't help anyone. So, AITA for leaving my stepkids after they told me to know my place in their house. I've thought about this a lot. Run it through my head 1,000 times. And here's where I land. I didn't leave because of one comment. I left because of 5 years of small rejections, of being held at arm's length, of never quite belonging. That comment was just the moment I couldn't pretend anymore. I didn't leave to punish Ethan. I left because staying meant slowly dying inside. Day after day of being reminded I wasn't really family. Year after year of giving and not receiving. That's not sustainable. That's not healthy. That's not love, that's martyrdom. I didn't leave Maya. I stayed in her life as much as I could. I'm still in her life. That relationship survived because it was mutual. Because she let me in. So no, I don't think I'm the asshole. I think I'm someone who finally accepted the truth of his situation and made the hard choice to protect himself. And sometimes that's the only choice you have. If that makes me the bad guy in some people's eyes, so be it. I can live with that. I've lived with worse. I'm writing this from my apartment on a Sunday afternoon. It's quiet. Peaceful. The kind of quiet I didn't know I needed until I had it. Maya just left, we had lunch, talked about her college applications, laughed about old times. She's doing well. Really well. She's going to be okay. Jessica got remarried last year. Some guy she met through work. I'm happy for her. Genuinely. She deserves to be happy. Ethan. I don't know. I hope he's okay. I hope he figures out whatever he needs to figure out. I hope one day he understands that I wasn't the enemy. I was just a guy who loved his mom and tried to love him, and couldn't make it work. Kevin's out of the picture again. Shocking, I know. Life goes on. It always does. The pain fades, the memories soften, and eventually you find yourself in a place you never expected to be, but somehow it feels like home. This is my home now. Small, simple, mine. And for the first time in years, I know exactly where I belong. If you're still watching, thank you. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for caring enough to hear me out. I know this was long. I know it was heavy. But stories like this need to be told, because stepfamilies are everywhere, and the challenges they face are real, and too many people go through them alone. If you're a stepparent struggling right now, know that you're not alone. Know that your feelings are valid. Know that it's okay to have limits, to need support, to make hard choices. If you're a stepkid, know that your feelings are valid too. The confusion, the loyalty binds, the hope that your biological parent will come through, all of it is real, and all of it matters. If you're a biological parent trying to blend a family, know that your role is crucial. You're the bridge. The mediator. The one who has to make both sides feel seen and heard. It's an impossible job, but someone has to do it. Families come in all shapes and sizes. Some are born, some are chosen, some are built slowly over time through patience and persistence and love. And some, like mine, don't make it. That's sad, but it's not a failure. It's just life. I did my best. That's all any of us can do. If you want to hear another real-life story about family, love, and hard choices, click the video on screen right now. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves. And remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is know your own worth.